Hello everyone, I'm back with the second part of this tutorial where we're gonna complete the modeling of this microphone. And as I mentioned last time, the last tutorial, in this one we're gonna finish this main part here of the microphone, the cylindrical part, okay? And the only thing I changed was the way I organized the collections here. I create one collection for the base, this part here we finished last time, the last tutorial, and I name it base as base. So let's start it. Okay, I hide the base because we are not gonna need it right now. So the first step is gonna be creating this grid part of the microphone, okay? As everything in Blender, there are many ways you can achieve this effect. But the way I chose and the way I used to create my microphone was using arrays, okay? So let's start creating one circle. Press Shift A or come here in Add, okay? The shortcut to show this window here, the Add window, is Shift A. So every time you see me pressing Shift A, it's the same thing as coming here and choosing one of those meshes. Let's start with a circle. And the circle gonna have 6 sides. It's gonna be one hexagon. Like this. Okay. Let's rotate it 90 degrees around the x-axis. So press R, X, and 90. Okay, rotate. And now I want to align it with our reference image. Okay. Let's go to edit mode. Press 1 in the numpad to align with the Y view. Let's extrude it. So select the edge mode here, or press 2 in the keyboard. Let's extrude, press E. And before you confirm with the mouse click, you're gonna press S to scale. So you're gonna scale it down. Okay. Then we're gonna have this shape. Now I'm gonna go back to object mode. Let's press G, Z. Let's scale it down. And let's try to match the size. Remember, since we're gonna use the array modifier, let's just add it right now. Add the array modifier here. Let me remove my image out of the way here. And because we are using the array modifier, we have to pay attention now that we don't want the edge of our hexagon to be the width of this part here of the reference image. Okay, you want it to be like half. So let's try to make it work here. I'm gonna move the reference image a little bit to the left. Okay. Let's go back to edit mode. We're gonna scale it down a little bit here. And the outer line, I'm gonna scale it up a little bit, very little. Okay, I think that's fine. And now we're gonna put the count here in the array modifier to 42. Yes, I counted how many of these hexagons we have in the microphone. So if you look at the side view, you're gonna see it's divided into parts. And in this middle part, you can see that in each row, we have a different amount of hexagons. And I counted that in this first row, we have 19, and in the second one we have 20. And then this pattern repeats until the top. So I counted this first row here, and it has 19 of these hexagons. Okay. And since we have 19 in one side and 19 on the other side, in total we have 38, plus this area here where it fits 2 more of our hexagons. Okay. So in total we're gonna have 42 in each row. And in this second row, we're gonna have 20 in one side, 20 in the other side, plus 1 here and 1 in the opposite side. Okay. So let's start making this. Next step gonna be, let's duplicate this mesh. Select it and press Shift D. Okay. And we're gonna move it a little bit following the x-axis until around here, until around half. And then move up till around here, until we align it like this. Because when we apply the array modifier, we're gonna merge these vertices, okay? For example, the vertices of this hexagon here, we're gonna merge with the vertices of the hexagon beside it that is located in this other row here. Same thing with the top row and so on. And also we want to select the merge option here in the array modifier. So each of these hexagons gonna merge with each other, okay? And it's gonna make one single mesh, this entire line here. And you can notice that the width of these two edges is not as wide as the width of the reference image. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna delete this second row here. I'm gonna scale this outer edge a little bit more. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna duplicate it, move it in the X direction, move it up. Okay, I think we're fine now. And now we have to apply another array modifier, but now we're gonna duplicate each row in the Z direction. So let's add another array. Okay. The factor in the X direction is gonna be 0. In the Z direction is gonna be, I think, around, let's try 1. And as you can see now, in the Z direction, it's not working. But if we apply in the Y direction, it's gonna work. Okay, let me try here too. And why this is happening? It's because if you remember, we rotated the image, the circle in the beginning, our hexagon. In the beginning, we rotated 90 degrees in the X direction. So right now, the Y-axis of our hexagon is pointing like towards the Z direction. So what I have to do to fix this is select our mesh, come here in Object, Apply Rotation, or let's try here in the second mesh. You can press Ctrl A and apply the rotation. That's the shortcut. Okay, and now it's gonna work if we try to move in this direction here. See? I think 1.5 is a good number. Yeah, 1.5 is the number we need. And as you can see here, we have 12 of these smaller rows and 11 of these longer ones. So let's type here 12. And of the longer one, let's type Oh, first let's add another array here too. Let's type 11 in the z direction as well. 1.5 here, right? Yes. Okay, so now we have our grid, the entire grid to make the microphone. But right now it is on a plane. It's just a plane with the grid. We need to make it a circle. We need to make it a round shape. And to do this, we're gonna need one curve. Let's add a curve, a circle curve, like this. And we're gonna apply the modifier. Let's apply the curve modifier. Okay. And we're gonna use this curve, our circle curve, as our reference object, as our curve object. Okay. So you can click here in this little icon and then click in our Bezier circle. Okay. And as you can see here, it already makes this shape of a half of a circle. And let's do the same thing with our other mesh. Let's add the curve modifier like this. Okay. And now we have to change the size of the circle to make one side reach the other side of our grid. So let's scale, press S. Let me get closer so you can see when one side reach the other. We can even choose here the wireframe mode to see better when one side touch the other, like this. Doesn't need to be like perfectly aligned, because when we merge, it's going to be based in a distance between all those vertices. So let's go back to this shading here. Okay, now we have our grid, and I recommend you, because doing any alteration or even before applying the modifiers, I recommend you to copy these meshes and create one collection called backup, and you can put there all the meshes where you haven't applied your modifiers yet. So in case you make some mistake and you need to come back to the original mesh, you're gonna have a backup folder with your mesh there. Okay. And also never forget to save. You can save here or press Ctrl S. So what I want to do right now is to apply those array modifiers. Okay. Let's apply the first array. Remember, in this first array, the merge option needs to be selected. Press apply. Press apply in the second array as well. In both meshes, okay? Apply and apply. Okay. And now let's join our two meshes. Since both meshes are using the same modifier, there's no problem if we join them as one mesh only. So let's select both meshes and press Ctrl J to join them. I'm gonna name it as grid. And if we go to edit mode, we can see we have here. And now we need to merge each row that we joined here. Because if you click in one of those vertices between two rows and you try to grab it, you can see that they're not merged yet. So let me do this. So to merge everything, you're gonna press A to select all the vertices, and let's go to mesh, Come here, merge, and let's choose by distance. Or you can just click M and select by distance. Okay, here at the bottom you can see how many vertices were removed. So let's increase this value by 10 times maybe. Let me try 0.001. A little more, 0.05. Yeah, that's enough. You see, more than almost 2,000 vertices were removed. This means that probably vertices that were close to each other, they merged. Okay, so let's go back to object mode. And here you can see that the beginning and the end of a ring, they are not merged yet. We're gonna fix this after we apply the curve modifier. So what we're going to do now, let's hide the front side. Let's unhide the back side, this one here. And I'm gonna now extrude this bottom part of our microphone, okay, and make this hole here. Let's make one hole to insert this button, and another one here where there is the USB and the earphones input. Okay, so let's do that now. Let's go back to edit mode. Let's change the view to the back view, so press Ctrl 1 in the numpad, or click here in the gizmos. Okay, here in the Y axis. Let me try to align the grid to our reference image, so GZ. Let's decrease the size of the reference image a little bit. Just to have an idea of the height we're gonna extrude here. Okay, so now we have to select this bottom edges of our grid. So you can press Shift, Alt, and click in one of those edges to select all of them. But it's gonna select the sides too, all the vertices around our grid. So let's unselect those ones. To undo the selection, you can press Ctrl and drag the box select around these edges. Okay, we select those edges. It's missing this one. You can press Shift and click it again. Oops. You can press Shift and click in the edge to unselect it. Okay, let's go back to this view, and now we can extrude pressing E and Z, so we lock in this direction. Okay, around this height here is okay. And to make those edges straight, we're gonna press S to scale in the Z direction and press 0. That's a technique to align edges in one direction. Now I'm gonna drag it in the X direction, GX. It doesn't necessarily need to be in the middle, because you can rotate after, but I'm gonna place it around here. Let's select the X-ray mode so you can see through our mesh, and you can see the hole here. So there are many ways to make a hole in one mesh, in one plane like this. And the way I did mine was using the knife tool. I press K, and let's manually contour this hole. It also doesn't need to be perfect because you're gonna apply the loop tools circle to make it round. Okay, press enter, so it's missing one here. Oops, here. So I'm gonna press K and add another one here and delete this edge, this extra edge. Select, press X and dissolve edge. So now we have this ugly circle here. Let's select its edges. Oops, select. This one here. Okay, now that you selected the entire circle, you're gonna right click and choose loop tools and select circle. And now we have a perfect round circle here. Now I'm gonna toggle the X-ray mode and let's delete those faces in the middle of the circle. Select them, press X, delete faces. Let's see how it looks in the object mode. It looks fine. Let me right click and shade smooth. You can see a little bit of shading issue here, but we're gonna fix it by adding loop cuts here. Because if you pay attention, we add 2 more vertices in this face here. So it's not a quad anymore. It has more than 4 vertices. So we're gonna have to add 2 loop cuts here. But we're gonna do this after we apply our curve modifier. And let's also select our circle, all the edges, and extrude it. Press E and press S to scale it down a little. Okay. So now we have our perfect circle to place our button. Let's now make the other hole here. And sometimes I was trying to scroll closer to the circle here. And sometimes Blender doesn't allow us to get closer. There's a limit. So if you want to scroll a little further, you can select the object you want to get close to and press the numpad dot here. And now you can scroll better around that object you clicked, okay? The shortcut, this dot in the numpad, it's like you choose that object to focus on it. That's a very important hint that I only learned after a few months working with Blender. Okay, so now let's go back to the back side here, Control 1. Let's toggle the X-ray mode again. And let's do the same to this other hole. That the shape is like a capsule. Let's press K. And let's do the same thing we did in the circle above. Press enter. Same thing here at the bottom. And I didn't apply the curve modifier yet, because after we apply it, it would be more difficult to make this circle here. After we apply the loop tools, this circle would get like flat here. So it wouldn't look that nice. That's why I didn't apply the curve modifier yet. And I tested this before, like multiple times. This step was really annoying to make. Okay, let's delete those faces. X, faces. You can move the vertices around here if you wanted to make a perfect arch here. I think it looks fine. It's just a small detail in our final microphone. Yeah, it looks fine. Okay, I'm gonna save, Ctrl S, never forget to keep saving your project. And now I think we can apply our curve modifier. Don't forget to duplicate your mesh, pressing Shift D, and save in a backup collection here. I'm gonna create this backup collection. I'm gonna drag my backup mesh inside it. And now finally we can apply our curve modifier. And if we go back to edit mode, we can see we have our microphone in the cylindrical shape that we were expecting. Let's try to merge now the two extremes of our microphone. Where it is, I think it's here. Yeah. So let's select everything, press M, and merge by distance. It didn't remove any vertices yet, so I need to increase this distance here. Let me type 0.01. And it removed 22 vertices. It means, I think, that we merged some of those vertices, like this one. But some of them didn't merge yet, because they're not that close. So let's select again everything, press M one more time, by distance, 0.02. Okay, now 25 vertices. Yeah, now I think we merged all of them. Okay, let's add those loop cuts that I mentioned before. So let's add loop cut here, Ctrl R. Let's drag it up. To make it straight, press SZ0. And let's connect these vertices with this one. And this one with that. Let's do this one more time here. And also in this other one. Oops. Let's use the knife tool again. I'm doing this because I want to have all quads, only quads in our mesh. We can also extrude here, this hole. Press E and S to scale and extrude it a little bit. I do this to create a loop around our hole, like this. Okay, now we're done this annoying part, that is to make holes in our mesh. Let's also extrude the top part. Let's select all these edges like we did with the bottom part. Press Shift Alt and click in one of those edges. So the entire loop is selected. Let's extrude it. Press Z to lock in the Z direction. And let's make it straight, pressing S, Z, and 0. We can now close the stop part, pressing F. And before we add a bevel in this edge here, let's duplicate it. Let's duplicate the top face. Okay, select the top face. Press Shift D to duplicate. Press P to separate the selection. Let's go back to object mode. And the part we duplicate is this top face here. Only this circle. I'm gonna name it top. Let's go back to edit mode. Select everything. I'm gonna lift it up a little bit, very little, so that those two faces aren't at the same spot. And now we can extrude it again in this direction to the top. And now you can add a bevel in this edge. Let me toggle the X-ray mode. So to add the bevel, you can press Ctrl B and drag it until around here. And to add more loops in this bevel, you're gonna scroll your mouse wheel up. Okay. I think it's okay. I add 7 segments. You can add less or more if you want. And I think we're done with the top part. Okay, it looks perfect. Let me just see if our face orientations is right. So you can come here to the viewport overlays and select the face orientation. And as you can see, our normals are flipped. So you have to go back to edit mode, select everything, and let's flip our normals. Press Alt N and select flip. So now we have the right face facing us. So you always need to have this blue color facing the part you want to render, okay? The side you want to render. Since you don't want to render the insides of the microphone, you want to render the outside. So we need this blue color to be pointing outside. And let's do the same to the other part of the microphone. Select everything, A, Alt N, oops. Alt N and flip. And I'm gonna give you another hint. If sometimes you don't remember a shortcut, you can press F3. Okay, so you have to remember the F3 shortcut because it's a search. Okay, and in this search you can search for whatever you want to do. For example, I forgot how to flip normals. So I can come here and tap flip normals. And you can find here where you can find this menu. You can go to mesh and the normals, or press the shortcut Alt N. So here at mesh, normals, and here you can flip the normals. Okay, so let's unclick the face orientation, and we have our microphone almost done this part. Okay, what is missing now? It's missing to close some of those hexagons. Like in the sides here, you can see that some of those hexagons are closed. So let's do that. I'm gonna hide this back image. And let's check if these holes we created are in the middle of our mesh. Press 7 to see from above. Oh, I'm gonna press 1. I think it's quite in the middle, right? So let's now close those hexagons. Select our microphone. Let's go to edit mode. Press 3. And we're gonna have to select first these 2 columns. Let me hide the side image as well so you can see it better. So first we're gonna select these 2 hexagons, the first row, 1 in the second, 2 in the third. Oops, be careful to not select other edges beside these ones. And keep following this pattern. I'm gonna press F to fill it. See? So we have to do this until the end. Okay. Let's keep doing this. I'm gonna speed up the video because this part is very boring. Now I'm doing the other side. If yours is not aligned, you can select everything, press R and hold in Z and try to align the 2 sides, the 2 opposite sides. Okay. Okay, I completed both sides. And now let's add those bevels at the top here. I'm gonna hide this top part. Let's select those edges. Press Ctrl B. I'm gonna add like around maybe 4 loop cuts. I think it's enough because it's just a small detail here. So that edge doesn't look so sharp. Let's do the same with our top part. Just 3. Okay. I think we're fine here. Let me bring back our reference image. Okay, we're missing now the bottom part. This one here. It's gonna be the same thing as the top part. So we can select it, duplicate it, and before we rotate it, let's bring the origin point to the center of our mesh, of this mesh here. So with it selected, come to Object, Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. So when we rotate 180 degrees, it's going to rotate around this point. So press R to rotate, Y, and 180. Okay, now that we have it flipped, let's drag it down, GZ, to around here. And let's make it smaller. Press S to scale. Okay. Okay, it's getting perfect. I think we finished this part here. Let's just add a modifier, okay? Solidify modifier. So select your microphone. Oh, rename the bottom part. bottom. And let's add the solidify modifier. Okay, let's apply the size first. Ctrl A, scale. And you see you have some shading problems here. This is because we need to bevel those edges first before applying the solidify modifier. So let's add the bevel modifier. And look at this, it looks perfect now. Let's just increase the number of segments and decrease the amount here. Oops, maybe 0.001. Okay, I think this is okay. Maybe this is too thick. So let's decrease the thickness, 0.005. Yeah, I think it's okay now. And we finished this part of our microphone. So now we just need a cylinder here in the middle to be the part with lights. Be this colorful part here. Okay, it's gonna be a cylinder. So let's add a cylinder. Shift A, mesh, cylinder. And let's position it in the middle of our microphone. Let's scale it up. SZ. Let me hide the outside part. And let's add those bevels. Ctrl B. Ctrl B. Right click, shade smooth. And okay, we have this colorful part here. I don't remember if I mentioned before, but we're gonna add the sponge looking detail to this part when we are applying materials to the microphone. Okay. Okay, let's check the base to see how it's looking. It's getting very nice. And now to finish this video, let's create the button. Okay, this button here. Oops. This button here. Let's create it. Let me hide everything. Let's add. So press Shift A, mesh, cylinder. And now I want 120 vertices. Okay. So you're gonna tap here 120. And let's rotate it around the x-axis, RX90. I'm gonna drag around here to align with our reference image. Scale it down. Ctrl A, apply scale. Press tab to go to edit mode. I'm gonna make it a little longer in the y-axis, so SY around here. I'm gonna add one loop cut here in the middle. Let's inset this face. So let's select the face. inset around here. Holding Alt, pressing one of those edges, and the entire loop selected. Then come here to face and extrude faces along normals. Extrude it a little bit, just a little bit. And now come here to select and choose the option checker to select. And in this menu here, you're gonna select 2. So that you're gonna have one face selected after 2 unselected faces. And now press Alt S to scale these faces. And press SY to scale down around the Y axis. Okay. And we're done with our button. Let's bring back our microphone. And let's position it here in this hole. We need to rotate it around the x-axis. Okay. Let me hide this image. I'm trying to position it here. Okay, it's positioned. And now to finish this tutorial, let's add this portion where, let me show you, where we're gonna have the USB and the earphone inputs. Okay, what I'm gonna do is select one part of this mesh. I'm gonna select this loop here. Press Shift D to duplicate and P to separate it. Let's go back to object mode. Select it, scale it down. It's scaling around its origin point, and the origin point it's all the way up here. So let's go to object, set orange to origin to geometry here. Okay, and now press S to scale, and let's rotate around the z-axis and scale around the z-axis too, like this. Press Ctrl A, apply the scale. Let's scale it up a little more until around here. So it's going to be very close to this edge. Okay, we can erase some of those faces. We don't need all this. So I'm gonna select the X-ray mode. I'm gonna select all those faces here. Press X and delete faces. Okay. You're gonna need some faces here. And you can already create the little hole for the earphones input and the USB. I'm gonna name it here USB. I'm gonna turn on the view of our reference image. I'm gonna spin everything around the z-axis 180 degrees. So both the reference image and our model gonna face the same to the same side. Okay. So I'm gonna select everything. Art rotate around z 180 degrees. Okay. Now let's make the little holes. It's gonna be a very small one. So let's do the same trick. Let's select the knife tool. Draw these 3 vertices. More 3 vertices here. Let's select those edges. We can delete these faces already. Press X, delete faces. Let's select those edges. Right click. Loop tools and circle. We can extrude and press S to scale around here. Okay. Let me hide our microphone. And let's add those loop cuts the same way we did with that first hole. So Ctrl R. On both sides. Ctrl R. And then let's connect those vertices using the knife tool. And now let's create the USB. It's going to be around here. I press X so we lock it in the X direction here. Okay, let's delete these faces. Let's extrude it in scale like this. And let's add those loop cuts. Okay, we're done. But as you can see here, it's not so round because it doesn't have enough resolution. So we can add one subdivision modifier. Okay, now we have another problem. The USB became too round. So I should have make it straight, those top sides and the bottom side. So let's select the top side. Press SZ0. Bring it down a little, following the Z-axis. Same thing at the bottom. SZ0 GZ. And let's slide those vertices down. Press G 2 times, GG, and slide it down. Let's bring those vertices up. GG. Same thing at the bottom. Now let's extrude those edge loops around the circle. Just a little bit. And add one loop cut here and drag it closer to our mesh. Okay, so we have this detail here. It's not even necessary because it's just a small detail, but to make it very close to the real one, let's add this small detail here. Let's extrude this edge loop as well. Oops, let's select the face. And add this edge loop in the back. Okay, we're done here. So I don't think we need the solidify modifier, maybe. Let me test. Yeah, we won't need the solidify modifier here. It would be just extra geometry in our mesh that's already very dense. So let's delete the solidify modifier. And the bevel modifier, maybe also it's not necessary, I think. Let's add one more subdivision. So we're gonna have 2 levels of subdivision. And delete this bevel. Yeah. So let's bring back our microphone, and here we have the final result. Let me bring it more close to the wall here of the microphone. GY. Okay. I think we're good now. Right? We can even delete some more geometry here on the sides. So let's do that. Just to finish this video. So we're done with this tutorial where we finished this main part of our microphone. We also finished in the last tutorial the base, and in the next one we're gonna finish our modeling because we're gonna complete those rings, support rings. That's how we should call it. Yeah, we're gonna finish those rings, and then we're gonna have our entire microphone modeled. And in the last tutorial we're gonna make the materials and all the texturing. Okay, so guys, I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial as well, and please give a like, comment to make the algorithm of the YouTube share this video for more people. Okay, so I hope you all have a great day, and until next time, bye.